The San Francisco 49ers are a professional American football team based in the San Francisco Bay Area. The 49ers compete in the National Football League as a member of the league's National Football Conference West Division, and play their home games at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, located 38 miles southeast of San Francisco. The team is named after the prospectors who arrived in Northern California in the 1849 gold rush. The team was founded in 1946 as a charter member of the All-America Football Conference, and joined the NFL in 1949 when the leagues merged. The 49ers were the first major league professional sports franchise based in San Francisco, and are the 10th oldest franchise in the NFL. The team began play at Kazar Stadium in San Francisco before moving to Candlestick Park in 1971, and then to Levi's Stadium in 2014. Since 1988, the 49ers have been headquartered in Santa Clara. The 49ers won 5 Super Bowl championships between 1981 and 1994. 4 of those came in the 1980s, and were led by Hall of Famers Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, Steve Young, Charles Haley, Fred Dean, and coaches Bill Walsh and George Seifert. They have been division champions 21 times between 1970 and 2021, making them one of the most successful teams in NFL history. The 49ers rank 4th all-time in playoff wins, having been in the league playoffs 28 times, and have also played in the most NFC championship games, hosting 10 of them, also an NFC record. The team has set numerous notable NFL records, including most consecutive away games won, most points scored in a single postseason, most consecutive seasons leading the league in scoring, most consecutive games scored, most field goals in a season, most games won in a season, and most touchdowns and points scored in a Super Bowl. According to Forbes, the 49ers are the 6th most valuable team in the NFL, valued at $3.05 billion in September 2019. In 2020, they were ranked the 12th most valuable sports team in the world, behind the Los Angeles Rams and above the Chicago Bears. In 2018, the enterprise branch of the 49ers announced they bought a 15% minority ownership share in the English football club Leeds United FC. In 2021, this stake was increased to 44%. Franchise history: Morabito family era, Buck Shaw years, Dick Nolan years, Edward DeBartolo era. Louis G. Spadia retired from the 49ers in 1977 upon the team's sale to the DeBartolo family. The team was sold to Edward J. DeBartolo Jr. in March 1977, and despite finishing the season with a winning record of 8-6, Clark was fired after just one season by newly hired general manager Joe Thomas, who oversaw the worst stretch of football in the team's history. Under coach Ken Meyer, the 49ers lost their first 5 games of the 1977 season, including being shut out twice. Though they won 5 of their next 6, they lost their last 3 games to finish the season 5-9. Playing in San Francisco did not revive Plunkett's career, as he had another disappointing season, throwing only 9 touchdown passes. Bright spots for the 49ers included defensive lineman Tommy Hart and Cleveland Elam, who made the Pro Bowl, and running backs Wilbur Jackson and Delvin Williams, who combined for over 1,600 yards rushing. Gene Washington again led the team in receiving in 1977, his final year with the 49ers. The 1977 off-season was marked by a number of questionable moves by Joe Thomas that backfired badly. Thomas's big off-season acquisition was running back O.J. Simpson from the Buffalo Bills. As with Plunkett 2 years previously, it was thought that rescuing Simpson from a bad situation and bringing him to the West Coast where he had been raised would rejuvenate his career. To create playing time for Simpson, Thomas traded Delvin Williams to the Miami Dolphins for wide receiver Freddie Solomon. Thomas also released Jim Plunkett, giving up on him after 2 seasons. Finally, Thomas fired Meyer after only 1 season, and replaced him with Pete McCulley, his 3rd coach in 3 seasons. The 1978 season was a disaster for the 4.9 ERS, as they finished 2-14, their only wins coming against the Cincinnati Bengals and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Simpson indeed led the team in rushing, but with less than 600 yards. It became apparent that Simpson's knees and body were worn out, and he was near the end of his career. Wilbur Jackson also missed the entire season due to injury. Even worse for the franchise was that their first pick of the 1979 draft was traded to the Bills as part of the O.J. Simpson deal. Joe Thomas was fired following the season. Some of the key players that became part of the 4.9 ERS stunning rise began their 4.9 ERS career in 1978. Rookie quarterback Steve DeBerg, Joe Montana's first mentor, was the 4.9 ERS starting quarterback. Running back Paul Hofer and center/guard Randy Cross also started with the 4.9 ERS in 1978. The team was led in its turnaround from late 1970s doormat by new owner Edward J. DeBartolo Jr. and head coach Bill Walsh. The former head coach of Stanford University was known for stockpiling draft picks, making excellent draft selections, and patching roster holes by acquiring key free agents. Bill Walsh years: Super Bowl 16 champions, Super Bowl 19 champions, Super Bowl XXIII champions. George Seifert years: Super Bowl XXIV champions, Super Bowl XXIX champions. York family era. DeBartolo returned from his suspension in 1999, but a series of lawsuits over control of the family's vast holdings led him to surrender controlling interest to the Yorks as part of a 2000 settlement. Denise York became chairwoman of the board, while John York became CEO. On the field, the 1999 4.9 ERS got off to a 3-1 start, then in a nationally televised Monday Night Football game against the Arizona Cardinals, Steve Young suffered a blindside hit from cornerback Aeneas Williams that knocked him out of the game and eventually convinced him to retire. At the time it was believed the severe hit ended his career, but Young later said in interviews he could have come back to play another season or 2. After meeting with then general manager Bill Walsh and being told about how the salary cap troubles would make the team non-competitive, Young chose to retire rather than risk his long-term health further for a likely losing club. Without their future Hall of Famer, 29-year-old rookie Jeff Garcia took over as starting quarterback, but he would be benched for poor performances in favor of Steve Stenstrom. Garcia would be reinstated as the starting quarterback and in the final 5 games of the regular season. The 4.9 ERS lost 11 of their last 12 games, and suffered their first losing season in a non-strike year since 1980, which was also the last time that the 4.9 ERS did not win at least 10 or more games in a season. Bob McKittrick, 4.9 ERS offensive line coach since 1979, also died of cancer following the 1999 season. Before the 2000 season, Jeff Garcia was named the starting quarterback despite the 4.9 ERS drafting 2 quarterbacks. Garcia kept the starting job throughout the season and showed drastic improvement from the previous year. He broke a franchise record for most passing yards in one season, with 4,278 passing yards and 31 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions. Garcia and Terrell Owens, who established himself as the team's #1 receiver, both earned their first Pro Bowl selections. However, the 4.9 ERS finished 6-10, missing the playoffs for the second straight season for the first time since 1979 and 1980, due to a defense that gave up 26.4 points per game and a total of 422 points. The 2000 season was Jerry Rice's final year with the 4.9 ERS. He played 16 seasons with the team, In the 2001 season, the 49ers established themselves as a playoff team once again after 2 down years. They finished with a 12-4 record and a wild card berth. A quarter of their wins came in fourth quarter comebacks. Their defense also had a bounce-back year, going from the 28th ranked defense in 2000, to the 9th ranked. Terrell Owens had become Jeff Garcia's favorite target. Garrison Hurst, who had been forced to retire from football after breaking his ankle in the 1998 divisional playoffs, finally returned to the lineup after over 2 years of rehabilitation. He became the first player in NFL history to come back to football after suffering avascular necrosis. He had an excellent season, rushing for 1,206 yards on a 4.8 average. His comeback earned him the NFL Comeback Player of the Year award. In the final 6 weeks of the season, the 49ers defense shut out 3 teams, and had one of the most stupendous goal line stands against the Philadelphia Eagles. In the team's first playoff game in 2 years, they played against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field in the NFC Wild Card, but lost 25-15. The 2002 NFL season began with the divisional realignment. The 49ers gained 2 new divisional rivals, the Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals, while former divisional foes Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, and Carolina Panthers moved to the newly formed NFC South. The team's production dropped from the previous year. Jeff Garcia went from having 31 and 32 touchdowns in the previous 2 seasons, to only 21 in 2002. The 49ers defense struggled at times, dropping from the 9th-ranked defense in the previous season to the 19th ranked. Even though the team did not have the same success as they did in the 2001 regular season, the 49ers won the NFC West for the first time since 1997, with the division-clinching game coming on a last-second touchdown pass to Terrell Owens against the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers finished 10-6. In the 2002-03 NFL playoffs, they hosted the New York Giants in the 2002 NFC Wild Card. The Giants had a 38-14 lead late in the third quarter. However, the Giants' defense, which had been highly ranked all year, began to collapse, and by the final minute in the fourth quarter, Jeff Garcia had led the team back from the 24-point deficit to take a 1-point lead. Giants quarterback Kerry Collins then led a drive in the game's final minute to put the Giants at the 49ers' 23-yard line with 6 seconds left for a shot at a game-winning field goal. Long snapper Trey Junkin, who had been signed by the Giants that week, made a bad snap, so holder Matt Allen attempted a desperate pass down the field, which fell incomplete, but there was a flag on the play. The initial thought by spectators and the Giants was that pass interference had clearly been committed by the 49ers defense, but the flag was against the Giants for an ineligible receiver, so the game was over. The next day, the NFL admitted that the referee had blown the call, that the 49ers had indeed committed pass interference, and that the down should have been replayed. A press conference was held and a reporter asked 49ers head coach Steve Mariucci about his thoughts on the NFL, saying they blew the call, and he replied, "Bummer." It was the second biggest comeback victory in NFL playoff history, with the 49ers winning 39-38. The 49ers lost the next week to the eventual Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round, 31-6. This was the last postseason appearance for the 49ers until the 2011-12 playoffs. Steve Mariucci, whose published statements about his degree of power in the organization had frayed already strained relations with management, was fired by John York, despite a winning record in a clash of egos. Then Oregon State head coach Dennis Erickson was signed to a 5-year contract to replace Mariucci. The hiring of Erickson was highly criticized by the fans and the media, as Erickson's offensive philosophy was very different from the West Coast offense. The 2003 season was one of turmoil for the 4-9 ERS. While the Niners started the season with a 49-7 demolishing of Chicago, the team quickly began to unravel afterwards, as the relationship between Garcia and Owens turned sour upon Garcia taking issue with Owens's public praise for the play of backup quarterback Tim Rattay. Garcia responded with a cryptic remark of "We cannot let the sickness spread." In response, Owens wore a surgeon's mask at the following practice. The team was also ravaged by injuries to key players on both sides of the ball. The often reckless play of Jeff Garcia started to take a toll on him, as he was forced to miss 3 games during the season. The 4-9 ERS finished 7-9 and missed the playoffs. Despite this disappointing result, Erickson was retained as coach for the 2004 season. Owens' on- and off-field antics led to the 4-9 ERS trading him to the Philadelphia Eagles during the off-season. Several other key 4-9 ER players were released due to salary cap concerns, including Garcia and Hurst. The team finished the 2004 season with a 2-14 record, tying a franchise worst and finishing last in the NFC West for the first time since 1979, ending what had been the NFL's longest active streak for not finishing last in a division. With the worst record in the NFL, the team secured the rights to the first pick in the NFL draft. Dennis Erickson and general manager Terry Donahue were fired. After an extensive coaching search, the 4-9 ERS hired the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens Mike Nolan as their head coach. Nolan was the son of Dick Nolan, who had led the team to 3 consecutive playoff appearances from 1970 to 1972. The 4-9 ERS did not hire a general manager. In Mike Nolan's first draft as head coach, he selected quarterback Alex Smith from the University of Utah with the first overall pick of the 2005 NFL Draft. It was a pick predicted by most, though many thought the 4-9 ERS might select local product Aaron Rodgers of the University of California. Alex Smith's rookie season was a disaster, producing only 1 touchdown against 11 interceptions. The team finished 4th in the NFC West for the second consecutive year, with a 4-12 record. This earned the 4-9 ERS the 6th pick in the 2006 NFL Draft, which they used to draft tight end Vernon Davis. Alex Smith and the team improved greatly in 2006, led by second-year player Frank Gore from the University of Miami. Gore ran for a franchise record of 1,695 rushing yards, which led the NFC, along with 8 touchdowns. He was awarded his first Pro Bowl appearance. They also swept division rival and defending NFC champion, Seattle Seahawks, and kept the Denver Broncos from a playoff berth in the last game of the season. However, the team finished 7-9, their 4th consecutive losing season. In the off-season, the 4-9 ERS signed cornerback Nate Clements and safety Michael Lewis to improve their secondary. Clements' contract was worth $80 million for 8 years, the largest contract given to a defensive player in NFL history at the time. In the NFL Draft, the 4-9 ERS made another key addition to their defense, selecting middle linebacker Patrick Willis with the 11th overall pick. Willis would eventually be named the 2007 AP NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Before the beginning of the 2007 season, Hall of Fame coach Bill Walsh died of complications from leukemia. The 4-9 ERS started the season 2-0, for the first time since 1998. In the 4th game of the season, against the Seattle Seahawks, Alex Smith suffered a separated shoulder on the 3rd play of the game, an injury that severely hampered his play and ultimately led to an early end to his 2008 campaign after having shoulder surgery. Chiefly due to backup quarterback Trent Dilfer's struggles and Alex Smith's injury, the 4-9 ERS lost 8 straight consecutive games from Week 3 through Week 12, ending the year with a disappointing 5-11 record. Questions were raised about the future of Alex Smith, whose first 3 seasons had been plagued by inconsistent play, injuries, and never having had the same offensive coordinator from one year to the next. Head coach Mike Nolan and new offensive coordinator Mike Martz stated that a competition between Smith, Sean Hill, and NFL journeyman J.T. O'Sullivan would run through the first 2 preseason games of 2008. O'Sullivan was named the 4.9 ERS starter because of his familiarity with the Martz offense and after performing better than Smith or Hill in the first 3 preseason games. On October 20, 2008, after a 2-5 start, Mike Nolan was fired. Assistant head coach Mike Singletary, a Hall of Fame linebacker with the Chicago Bears, was named as the interim head coach. Singletary proved to be a fan favorite when after his first game as head coach he delivered a memorable post-game interview. Singletary said of their loss, "Right now, we've got to figure out the formula. Our formula is this: we go out, we hit people in the mouth." The team went 5-4 overall under Singletary, winning 5 of its final 7 games and ending the season with a 7-9 record. After the last game of the season, Singletary was named permanent head coach by Jed York, who had been appointed as team president just days before. Jed York is the son of John York and Denise DeBartolo York. On April 25, 2009, the 4.9 ERS selected Texas Tech Wr. Michael Crabtree, a player many people thought would go in the top 5, with the 10th pick in the first round of the 2009 NFL Draft. The 2009 training camp became the first since 2005 that the 4.9 ERS failed to have all drafted rookies signed and in training camp on time, as Crabtree held out trying to reach a contract. He finally reached a contract agreement on October 7, 2009, having missed the first 4 games of the regular season. The 4.9 ERS posted an 8-8 record after a frustrating season, losing only 2 games by more than a touchdown. Nevertheless, it was the team's first non-losing season since 2002. Despite missing the playoffs for the 7th straight season, several key players showed signs of improvement. Alex Smith regained his role as the 4.9 ERS starting quarterback, passing for more than 2,000 yards with 19 touchdowns, while Frank Gore collected his 4th consecutive 1,000-yard season, a 4.9 ERS record. Safety Dashawn Goldson showed signs of potential in his first year as full-time starter, as he tallied 94 tackles, 4 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 sacks. Vernon Davis in particular had a breakthrough year at tight end, earning Pro Bowl honors with 965 yards and 13 touchdowns. 2010 saw 5 4.9 ERS go to the Pro Bowl: Patrick Willis, Vernon Davis, Frank Gore, Justin Smith, and punter Andy Lee. The 2010 season started with the 4.9 ERS heavy favorites to win the NFC West after Cardinals QB Kurt Warner retired early in the off-season, but the season was a disaster. They started 0-5, their worst start since the dark days of 1979. In Week 3, the 4.9 ERS fired offensive coordinator Jimmy Ray, who had been handpicked by Singletary in the 2009 off-season. Starting safety Michael Lewis demanded to be released after he was demoted in favor of rookie safety Taylor Mays. By mid-season, Singletary was switching quarterbacks between Alex Smith and Troy Smith, who had been picked up in free agency after the preseason, but with little effect. On December 27, 2010, the 4.9 ERS fired Mike Singletary as head coach, naming defensive line coach Jim Tomsula as interim head coach for the last game of the season. The 4.9 ERS finished 6-10 that season. Jim Harbaugh years. Kyle Shanahan years. Championships. Super Bowls. The 4.9 ERS have won 5 Super Bowls, their first 3 under Bill Walsh. Walsh retired after winning his third in 1988, but first-year head coach George Seifert did not miss a beat, winning the Super Bowl in his first year in 1989. He would also win one more in 1994. NFC Championships. Logos and uniforms. Logo. The original 49ers logo was a mustached 49er gold miner from the 1849 California Gold Rush, dressed in plaid pants and a red shirt, jumping in midair with his hat falling off, and firing pistols in each hand, one nearly shooting his foot, and the other pistol forming the word 49ers from its smoke. An alternate logo with a shield-shaped crest formed from the number 49, with a football in the upper right quadrant and SF in the lower left quadrant, was created in 1965 and used for marketing purposes until 1972. From 1962, the 49ers logo has been the iconic SF within the center of a red oval. Throughout the years the logo has had minor modifications, such as a black outlining on the intertwined SF that was added in 1989 and a gold trimming inside the oval that was added in 1996. Uniforms. The San Francisco 49ers have two different uniforms, red and gold home uniforms and white, red, and gold road uniforms. However, the 49ers have changed uniform designs and color combinations quite often throughout their history. From the team's inception in 1946, they wore dark or cardinal red, switching to scarlet red jerseys and gold pants for the 1948 season, with a gold helmet with one red stripe, with solid red socks and pants with no stripes. Entering the 1949 season, the first in the NFL, the 49ers adopted three stripes to their red jerseys, wearing gold helmets and pants, with no stripes, and red socks with three white stripes. In the 1953, 54, and 55 seasons, the 49ers wore red helmets with a gold stripe in the middle, with silver pants with one single stripe of red. The socks also added the three stripes similar to the jerseys. 1955 was also unique in that the 49ers wore white pants with a black stripe bounded by two red stripes, and shadow drop numbers on their red jerseys, with black shadow drop borders on the white numerals. The following season, 1956, the team wore white helmets with no stripes, and white pants with a red stripe. In 1957 the 49ers wore red jerseys, a gold helmet with no stripes, and gold pants with no stripes. For the first time the 49ers wore white on the road, as dictated by the NFL for all teams, to have at least one team wearing a light-colored jersey during games. The first white jersey had two red stripes with a gold in the middle, as was their road socks, white, with two red stripes and gold in the middle. San Francisco wore red and gold in 1958 as well, with their white jersey having a single shoulder loop stripe, as well as adding TV numbers to the sleeves of their home and away jerseys. And in contrast to the socks at home, red with three red stripes, the away socks were solid red. In 1959 the team switched to red and platinum gold, and for the next several years afterwards, with their white jerseys having double shoulder loop stripes, but continuing with the three white stripes on the sleeves above the elbow and below the TV numbers, with the red home jerseys. In 1960, the team added northwestern red stripes to their helmets, and that changed in 1962, with the addition of the helmet design the team has mostly worn since, white stripe bounded by two red, with the red oval and SF logo on the sides of the helmet. In 1964 the team's colors then changed again. All silver elements were changed to what was called 49er gold, helmets were gold. New beige gold pants with a red-white-red tri-stripe in the same style as the helmet were introduced. Uniform's basic design would be worn for practically the next 30 seasons with only some minor changes and adjustments, such as a gradual change over from sans serif to serif block numerals from 1970 to 1974 and a switch from thin stripes to a very thick pant striping in 1976. The uniform ensemble of red and white jerseys, and beige gold pants with thick striping were worn until 1995 with a few minor changes. During the 1994 season, many NFL teams wore throwback uniforms on occasional games to celebrate the NFL's 75th anniversary. The 49ers chose to wear a version of their 1955 uniforms as their throwbacks, with simpler sans serif block numerals that were outlined and shadowed in black with white pants with thinner red striping were also worn, along with the old striped red socks. The regular 1989-95 design gold helmet was worn with this uniform, as there was no logo on the 1955 helmet. In 1996, the 49ers celebrated their 49th anniversary by designing a commemorative jersey patch based on the earlier Shield crest logo. The team also debuted a substantially new uniform design, most notably changing the shade of red used in their jerseys from bright scarlet to a deeper, cardinal red. A black drop shadow effect was added to the jersey numerals. As in 1994, the Niners donned white pants full-time for the 1996 season, though this time the pant stripes were marginally thicker and the colors were reversed to black cardinal red black. For the 1998 regular season opener, the team switched back to gold pants, with a more metallic gold rather than the previous beige matte gold of the past. The striping along the side of the pants remained black cardinal red black, though a thin gold trimming was added, along with further oval SF logos placed on both sides of the hip. The 1996 helmet and jersey design with the 1998 gold pants was worn as the team's regular uniforms until the end of the 2008 season. The 49ers once again changed uniforms in 2009, which are very similar to the classic design, albeit with several significant changes. The sleeve stripes are now set at an angle to accommodate the even shorter sleeves of modern jerseys. An updated 49ers uniform with improved fit, and more breathable and moisture-resistant fabrics was debuted by new league uniform manufacturer Nike on April 3, 2012. On April 30, 2015, at their NFL Draft Rally, the team unveiled their first ever alternate uniform. The uniform consists of black jerseys and pants with red numerals and striping. Nike logos are in gold, while the standard solid red socks will be worn. These uniforms will be worn a maximum of 2 games a year, per league rules. In 2018, the 49ers unveiled a new alternate uniform, discarding their all-black alternates in favor of an all-white alternate. It was made in the style of 1994. With the letters and numerals larger and more pronounced shadows. The helmets were the solid gold, but were used with the old 49ers logo. They wear the uniforms once every season, normally on Alumni Day. However, the 49ers wore the uniform once on the road, in their Week 17 finale at Seattle in 2019. They also lobbied the NFL to wear them in Super Bowl LIV, but the request was denied. The NFL cited that the team's uniforms with the patch were already being sold. In 2021, the 49ers unveiled a red version of the 1994 throwback uniforms for use in select home games, with the white version now worn exclusively on the road. In 2022, the 49ers unveiled a new version of the uniforms. This included a saloon font and a 3-stripe jersey. Culture. Cheerleaders. The 49ers official cheerleading squad is called the Gold Rush. Started in the early 1980s, the first squad consisted of 14 dancers. In November 2018, shortly before the start of a game against the Oakland Raiders, a cheerleader for the San Francisco 49ers appeared to kneel during the U.S. national anthem, becoming the first NFL cheerleader to do so. The act of kneeling during the national anthem began with the quarterback Colin Kaepernick to raise awareness about racism and police brutality. Mascot. The 49ers official mascot is Sourdough Sam. He wears jersey number 49. Rivalries. The San Francisco 49ers have three rivals within their division: the Los Angeles Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks. They also have rivalries with other teams that arose from postseason games in the past, most notably the Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, and Green Bay Packers. They also share an intrastate rivalry with the Los Angeles Chargers. NFC West: Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals. NFC: Green Bay Packers. Historic rivals: Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Atlanta Falcons, Las Vegas Raiders, Cleveland Browns. Season-by-season records. This is a partial list of the 49ers' last 5 completed seasons. For the full season-by-season franchise results, see List of San Francisco 49ers seasons. As of June 7, 2022. Players of note. Current roster. Pro Football Hall of Famers. Retired numbers. Asterisk: during his tenure with the 49ers from 2006 to 2007, quarterback Trent Dilfer, a longtime friend of Brody, wore number 12 with his permission, unofficially unretiring the number as a tribute. 49ers Hall of Fame. The Edward J. DeBartolo Sr. 49ers Hall of Fame is the team's official hall of honor for the franchise's greatest players and contributors. 49er 10-Year Club. The 10-Year Club is a shrine that honors members of the San Francisco 49ers who played 10 or more seasons with the organization, and was started by Bill Walsh to recognize players that have shown longevity, success, and consistency. Each member is shown in a black and white photo on a scarlet and gold plaque with their name under the photo and the years in which they played. A plaque placed in the center of the photos of club members reads, 49ers 10-Year Club. Dedicated to those 49ers who have served 10 or more years proudly wearing the scarlet and gold. Bold indicates those elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Records. Current staff. Achievements. Individual awards. Radio and television.